Some of the perks coming in Season 10 are completely broken. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly which ones to focus on. Let's start off with the Infixes. These ones are game changing. I've already covered some of these in my other videos, so we'll skip most of these for now, but one I want to highlight is Close Quarters. Light and heavy attacks with ranged weapons within 10 meters deal 20% more damage, but you also receive 5% increased attacker base damage. Meaning this thing is going to be completely broken come Season 10. I promise you this will be one of the most used Infixes in the entire game. Make sure you grab this as fast as possible, especially if one of your weapons correlates with what I'm about to say. Blunderbuss, best user of this. Next up would be bow and musket, as those rely a high amount on their light and heavy attacks to deal a significant portion of their damage. Other weapons like Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet could use this, but I definitely think Blunderbuss, bow, and muskets will be king next patch due to this close quarter perk alone. You're about to walk up to a BB and get shotgun into the face like Bugs Bunny. We have another interesting one down here, Revive. Casting Life Embrace on a down player will revive them, requires 300 focus with a 45-second cooldown. This seems extremely broken for PvE dungeons. How can you ever lose in a raid if I can infinitely res my teammates? I'm not sure if they'll be bringing back reses in PvP. If so, this would be a must-have perk for every PvP game mode. You have Poison Affinity, deal 15% more damage to poison enemies. Cleansing Block, this one is broken beyond belief, especially if you are a Greatsword rat like myself. Blocking attack will remove one debuff. And guess what you're doing on Greatsword? Every chance you get, blocking and dealing damage at the same time. This is a wet dream built into one. The other Infixes here I've already either covered in a previous video or they're not that interesting, so I would either avoid them or just throw them into the dumpster, whatever suits your fancy. Now we have defensive slot perks coming our way. This is breakdown into a few different categories. One, we have the perks we've already been introduced, such as Invigorating, Vigor, Freedom, Hasted Vigor, Shirking Heals, and all the aversions. Most of these damage numbers are staying either the same or getting slightly reduced across the board. Shirking Heal seems very strong still, as the Nerf seems smaller than the rest. And let me tell you, every time I hippity hop like Kermit the Frog, I'll be getting a fatter heal than a man could ever dream of. But here's a few that are interesting. Divines has been changed. You now cannot get this increased healing from non-consumable or life-stealing healing sources. Translation, Blood Drinker could be down in the dumps, who knows. But this means Shirking Heals and a Pocket Healer will even be stronger than previous seasons, as every time you're hippity hopping around, Divines will be saving you multiple times. We have Alchemist, which is the same, but Anointed Lifesteal has gotten a bit of a buff, as now it gives you 7% increased healing from all lifesteals, and it stacks. That's good, because I need my vampire build and I need it now. Grit Ward and Enchanted Ward have been nerfed as well, especially Enchanted Ward getting gutted by half the amount. The other perks here either stay the same or not too interesting, so I'll avoid them for now. Quick recount, Enchanted Ward still might be worth running come Season 10, as most of the game's damage is still coded as light and heavy attacks. Anointed Lifesteal seems relatively strong. Pair that with Divines or Shirking Heals, and then we got a real meta build on our hands here. We don't know exactly which one is best in slot, but at the moment we can only theorize. Let's break down Offensive next. These are all the harnessing perks, nothing much to say there, but interesting one here are these two new additions. Enchanted, light and heavy attacks deal 2% base damage with skill enchant on top. This gives abilities an additional 1.5% damage, meaning the magical wizards and the heavy attack enjoyers such as bows, muskets, or greatswords will absolutely love these additions to the game, as they really do specialize in one or the other. Vicious, Keen, and Vorpal and Rogue are all getting a slight nerf. The interesting thing here is we saw previously you could stack Keen and vicious perks from the earlier leaks, unless they've changed this, meaning that you can get some real nasty one-shot builds. I can definitely see Enchanted and Vicious being a hard pairing, and someone loads a powder burn on their musket, and you'll be getting burnt down into nothing but a pile of ash. One-shot builds are going to be coming in full force come Season 10, and I honestly cannot wait to get sent to Narnia. You have Pen Backstab, and all these other perks that we've seen previously in the other seasons, nothing much to be said here. Something that is important is Leeching. This has got nerfed by 50%, as now it only has 4% health, but you can stack this. So you can get 5 of these, so up to about 20% additional life stealing from Leeching alone. Pair that with Blood Drinker, that's an additional 40%, and then when you combine that with the Enraged set, we got 60% life stealing already. I'm becoming a true vampire. My fantasy is becoming a reality. Keenly Jagged and Empowered here also seem relatively strong, but honestly, I don't think they can compare to these two perks, Enchanted and Skill Enchanted, or Vicious and Keen. These 4 perks will definitely be the meta for offensive slots come Season 10, excluding, of course, the harnessing perks. Next up, we're on Skill Weapon Mastery. This one is not much to say about, as most of these numbers across the board has either been nerfed or slightly buffed or tweaked, but I will cover the ones that are a bit more game changing. A big one in my opinion is Leeching Cyclone. Cyclone hits heal you for 13 to 16% of the weapon damage. This got nerfed by about 50%. That's a massive overall gut to my life-stealing life. That is going to be rough. Another big one is Enfeebling Skewer. This also got gutted by about half. Most of these other passives here have been changed by about maybe 10 to 15%, but none of them are getting gutted like these two. They must hate my spear build. A big one also is Leeching Flurry. This one is massive, so sit up, boys. You might want to read this one. You get a heal, we already know that, but the big difference here is they got removed the invulnerability, and now instead you get 30% damage reduction for 4 seconds after Flurry is used. This, I think, is a massive buff, as that timing that 1 second, well, that took brain power, but this, even Ace Monkey could get the value out of Flurry now. Meaning, all these little light rat builds such as Musket Rapier, Fire Staff Rapier, are going to be more unkillable, as their survivability just went through the stratosphere. Life Staff here also got some changes, but I don't care about Rot Priest, so we're going to be skipping this for now. But one that I think is worth noting is Pillar of Fire. Now inflicts a slow instead of a cooldown, and the slow is huge at 10 to 20% for 4 seconds, meaning catching them are insanely hard, especially since Pyromaniacs can target lock you and never miss. This is a massive change to Fire Staff survivability, and I think this will be a heavily sought after perk come Season 10. For Sword and Shield, it just got nerfed across the board, mainly through Upheaval here, 5%, and Empowering Leaping Strike. These ones got hit hard like a freight train. How about Great Axe? A big one here is Charge can now pass through allies and enemies when sprinting forward. You also deal 14 to 28% increased damage. This thing is massive for survivability, as one of the biggest downsides of a charge was the main issue that you would constantly bum butt your teammate into oblivion. I was frustrated on this multiple times while using charge, so this addition is very welcome. The Reap got hit hard as well by about another 50%. Massive, and Execute and everything else here got nerfed across the board, but that's to be expected, as that seems to be a common thing throughout the weapons. Next up, Void Gauntlet. This one is big, so listen up. While below 50% health, Void Blade light attacks grant 8 to 16% lifesteal. Void Blade heavy attacks grant 13 to 26% lifesteal. Void Blade builds could be dead man walking now, as that is a substantial nerf from Season 9. But how about Greatsword? Lock it in, boys. This is my favorite weapon. And the only worth thing to talk about here is Leeching Crosscut. Each hit of Crosscut now gives you lifesteal. Before it was only 1. Sad part is it's still not enough to make this dog Ability meta. Blunderbuss has got a bit nerf across the board, but relatively stays completely broken. Next up, Flail. Power Eruption. This is the big one. This now has an increased damage of 16% per stack of impairment on the target. Not only is that a buff, but when you consider the fact that everything else to this point got a nerf, this is huge for overall damage, burst potential, and overall meta abusers.